Is that T-Basie?
Finally getting around to working on the Jeep again. The dash has still been ripped out. I'm almost done wiring it. The fuse panel is 100% done. I'm waiting on wire to run the last switches to the fuse panel. But I did go and get a hydro assist steering kit from PSC from a guy local to me. He had it mounted up on his Jeep and then planned on going full hydro, so I bought the new kit from him. It didn't have the pitman arm, so I had to go get one from a Astro van from Wide Open Concepts. It doesn't have the hole drilled in it yet, so I can put the hole wherever I need to so I don't hit the steering bar. Yeah, I still have to make the steering bar from the power steering box to the high steer arm. It's about 36 inches from center of that bolt to about where it's straight, lined up with that. So I have the tape measure centered on the tie rod right there, and I'm gonna measure 33 inches out, cut the bar. That's gonna give me the other 3.5 inches I need, and then weld that to that bar, and then it should be good to go. After I drill this hole, the Jeep should be able to steer again. The steering column should be in tomorrow, so I can hook the steering column to the steering shaft, going down to the box, and then being able to turn everything. So hopefully by the end of the weekend I should be able to get this thing out of here steering wise, and then the dash is going to be done by the end of the weekend. Put everything back in, restart wiring from the switches to the fuse panel, and then from all the accessories like the headlights, the fuel pump under there, all has to get ran underneath, come through here, and then mount to the fuse panel right here. Ready?
Dude, that shot is OD.
Just finished up all the steering. The steering bar is mounted to the high steer arm. The bars are mounted to the pitman arm. The steering box is all 100% mounted up. The steering shaft up here is mounted to the box, mounted to the steering column from PSC. I made some mounts for that so the steering column doesn't have any wiggle room. There's also a mount inside. You can see that mounted to where the old steering column used to go. I have the dash 100% wired, ready to be wired into this fuse panel I have right here. I have a diagram for what all the switches are. All the switches behind are ran into a daisy chain, so that power goes to that, to that, to that, to that, to that, to that. All the switches, and same with the LED lights down here. It all connects into one, so there's gonna be one power wire running off all those going into this fuse panel. Same with the ground, there's only one coming into all this. I have all the lights hooked up. Pretty sweet. The push the start button, I don't have anything mounted up right now, but the wire coming from the battery runs through the firewall up underneath the Jeep and comes in. I have this master on off switch, so this is going to kill all the power in the Jeep when I'm done with it. That big power wire coming from the battery comes to this. A wire comes off of that into that fuse panel, to that fuse panel, so it controls all these fuses. All of these switches are going to get ran behind the dash up underneath through there. This fuse panel gets mounted right there. I saw the wire tuck all that, come down, and then switch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all so on to 12. It's going to get all through there. It's going to send power to these relays on the back. Once that power gets kicked on, I still have to wire all the accessories, so the fuel pump, the headlights, electric fan, all that goes to there. When I flip the switch, it's going to send power through that, through the relay, flick the relay, send power to that wire right there, which is going to send power to the fuel pump, all that. So once I flick the switch, it's all going to get powered through, send power out to what it needs to. All the grounds from the fuel pump, the electric fan, all that is going to get sent in right here. The main ground coming from the battery gets terminated right there. I can also run it up to these grounds right here, just in case I can ground it up there, I can ground it down here, whatever works out for me once I get it in there. But everything's wired up, all the correct fuses. What's going on, everybody? I'm trying to remember the last thing I recorded with the Jeep. I don't believe once I got the engine bay painted, I don't think I showed anybody. So the engine bay is 100% painted. I have the wires ran for the headlights, the running lights inside the headlights, the turn signals. It is all running through this loom right here. Also have the siren mounted since I'm not going to have a horn. The air compressor's mounted. Everything's ran. I have it powered up, but it's not powered to the switches in there. I still have to run the lines from the solenoids to the front air locker and the rear also. But the engine bay is getting pretty much wrapped up. I also have the dash 100% wrapped up. The steering column's done. The switch panel's done. The fuse panel back there is done. The radio's all mounted up. The windshield frame's bolted in, but I had that fuse panel mounted up onto the firewall, and I had a lot of the wires ran. And after looking at it when the wires ran, it just wasn't what I was the look I was going for. So I'm unfortunately gonna have to rip all the dash back out, rerun all these wires, remake that fuse panel. A lot of that fuse panel is gonna get mounted on the back side of this dash. So all of these wires are fine that are going to the switches. These are all plenty long, but all the wires that are running outside are cut about 3 foot too short. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to rerun all these wires that are in this loom right here. But there's only about 10 or 12, so it's not too bad. And then I got to get the dash ripped back out and make some brackets to hold the new fuse panel. Just gonna use these existing holes. The switch panel, all that's already wired up, all that's staying the same. There's 16 switches on this switch panel, and on this fuse panel I made, there's a distribution block, and I wasn't thinking about it too much, and there's only 12. And when I was running the power for all the switches, some of the switches were going to have to share power, and that's not what I was going for. So I'm going to have to get a new distribution block, so there's going to be 24 now. Since there's only 16 switches, there's going to be some open ones, but if I ever have to add any switches later, it's already going to have power, so I have to get a new distribution block, new relays for the back. I also have the Holley ECU. Here's all the harnesses for that. None of that's hooked up yet, obviously, but I have that. Here is the actual ECU. That's the Terminator. I did not get the Terminator Max because the motor's still going to be drive by cable. The Terminator Max is drive by wire. So I did not need the Max. I saved some money on that. All that's done. I'm actually going to mount the ECU where that fuse panel is going to go. It is going to go tucked away in there, and all the wires are going to be ran somewhere through the front of the firewall and try to get hidden as much as I can. I did buy some motor parts for it. I have some more motor parts coming next week, so hopefully soon I can start tearing into the motor and getting that ripped apart and repainted. Put the new heads on, the cam, the valve train, the intake, and a bunch of other stuff, so that's pretty exciting. But I can't remember the last thing I recorded, so I just try to give you a quick rundown of what I've got done. The steering is also 100% done. I just need to get a quick release steering wheel for the steering column, and then the steering's done. So I'm gonna get the dash ripped out and continue on from there. I just got the dash ripped out and unspliced some of the wires. So there's the wires coming from all the accessories like the fuel pump and headlights and all that. These are for the tail lights and running lights. A lot of these are for, like I said, the headlights and stuff like that. There's all the grounds. So all of these are gonna get ran through this channel here all the way, and then it's gonna end up somewhere on the passenger side, and then it's gonna get spliced and turned into the dash that's over here that's on the floor. So this is essentially what it's going to be now. All the relays are going to be up top. I'm not sure exactly where these fuse panels are going to go. Distribution blocks are probably going to go, I'm going to need 4 of them now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I said, I don't know exactly where all this is going to go, but I still need 2 more of these, and then I'm going to leave that. I was eventually going to do 24 relays, but I'm not sure if that's still what I'm going to do. I still have 1 spare, so I might just do 16 since there's 16 switches, so that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. And I took obviously this fuse panel apart, and then now it's on the back of the dash. I still got to make some brackets so all this can get mounted down so I'm not screwing through what would be the front side of the dash. So all the wires I just showed you that are going to run through the channel are going to go down and get turned into all this. Then all these wires for the switches are going to get ran down here and then turn into some of the relay, and then, or actually the wires for the switches are going to get ran down and turned into this. And one side of the distribution block is going to go to the relay, and it's going to flip the switch and go into this fuse panel, or the fuse block I mean. The main power gets, main power from the on-off switch is going to go bang there and then jump to that, and same with the negative is going to go to that one, to that prong up there. All the negative from the accessories are going to get turned into here. Power on that side obviously, so a lot of wiring. I still got to mount it all up. Unfortunately I got to buy all new connectors and more wire and do it all again, so hopefully this is going to be the last time. Also, I'm not sure if I'm going to leave these relays somewhere over here, or if I'm going to do the 24, it's going to have to get moved over here. I'm going to have to add another bar and then screw more relays into that, so it's going to be pretty long, but it's all on the back side, so it's not going to matter too much. I'm still going to make it look as best I can, even though you're never going to see it. But there's the dash. The Jeep's done, so I'll probably finish up for the night. I was working on my KTM earlier. I might still work on this a little bit, but I can't do too much until I get some more connectors and wires, so until then,